Hello, my name is Marlies, and first I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to show you how I work and walk you through my processes. So as a project manager, I really like agile methodologies. Mainly, I have worked with SCRUM workflow. I started managing projects in SCRUM in college, both for my bachelor's and master's degree actually at USC. And I continued managing projects and teams in Scrum at Emerge Media, as well as took parts of it for my sales and marketing teams for the last year. So Scrum is basically a team-based approach to delivering value to the business. So team members work together to achieve a shared business goal. People are more efficient and a lot more collaborative. The platform I have been using is Trello. What you see in the screen that I'm sharing. I know you mentioned that you really like Asana. And even though I haven't worked with Asana before, I did do some research on it. And actually noticed that it's very similar to Trello. So it will be pretty easy switch if needed. And I'm sure you will notice it too once I go over the boards that I usually work with. So I have been using Trello mainly because it's very simple to facilitate and it's free. So let me get started with this little board that I have created as a template to show you how things work here. So every team member has access to the board. We will have daily Scrum meetings that are approximately 15 minutes long. We have pretty much seen that you do not need more than 15 minutes to go over the most important things and checking how everyone is doing. We have 3 roles in Scrum. First one is the Scrum Master, who would be me as a project manager. So my job is to run the meetings and keep the things going, make sure everyone's on time with their tasks. The second one would be the product owner, who would be the person in charge. In a lot of smaller companies, it would be the CEO. In bigger companies, it might be someone else. But this is a person who can define how and what needs to be done. So they're the ones who choose what things to move, for example, our product backlog to the sprint backlog. And everyone else are team members who are responsible in completing the sprint. So sprint has 4 parts. As planning, building, testing, and reviewing, and then repeating the process over and over again. One sprint typically lasts 1 to 3 weeks. So let's go over all the lists that we have. The first one is a board summary, which is basically just a guideline for the whole board. So for example, we have defined all the colored labels here. So now we know if we have a task and a card, we would add a label, a green label, if it's something that's urgent and it's a top priority. We need to get that task completed as soon as possible. Or we could have a problem with our task and we can't solve it by ourselves. So you would add a red label to your task, and perhaps even add the need more info label, which is the orange one. So me, as a project manager, will now see that, okay, you need someone's help, and I will figure out if I can first solve your problem, and if not, I will find you the person and the answer. So we can remove those blocks and get you into accomplishing your task. So the second one would be the backlog, which you see here. Backlog has all the tasks that we need to accomplish in here. It could be the projects, it could be hiring someone. It's all the little tasks that any of the teams would need. The backlog doesn't mean that we need to accomplish those tasks immediately. That's what we have the sprint backlog for. Sprint backlog has a certain deadline. For example, let's say we do a 1-week sprint. So we have to accomplish those tasks by next Friday. Let's say we need to accomplish, prepare a user manual for Salesforce, schedule the commercial photo shoot, hire a new project manager, and do the Workday implementation. Perfect. Now, the next step would be assigning all those tasks to people. Let's say the first one would be myself, and the due date is next Tuesday. So I save those, I label it as something urgent, and we're good to go. I could add extra description. What exactly do I need to get done? I, when I'm doing the task, could add, whatever I'm working on and what's my progress. So now, once I start actually working on the task, I would move it to doing. So me as a project manager and everyone else on the board can see that I'm working on it actively. And then ideally we want everyone to have some tasks. We want to label them, we want to assign them, and we definitely want to put deadlines in there. So now let's say I have a problem. I am working on this user manual for Salesforce, and I am waiting on this person to respond and help me, but I can't continue working on it until they're gonna fix it. So I will add those labels and the description of my problem. Now, me as a project manager, I see that and I'm like, oh, okay, they need help. Let me check what's the problem. Write a comment. So the whole communication would be in here. Of course, I can call them if I see there's something that I can't just fix by, removing the obstacle for them. But ideally, I will solve the problem for him. We would take the labels off and move it to the done table. We also would switch the headlines there. This is the done table for sprint number 1 that ends next Friday. I think it's actually next Saturday here, but so that's the whole goal of the to-do, doing, and done list. That we always see that someone's working on something, we see what's their progress, we see if they have any obstacles, and we want to make sure we will fix them as soon as possible. I, as a project manager, would have notifications in all those lists. So when someone completes the assignment, I would get a notification that they moved the card there. That way I can always keep an eye on everything. And the really cool part is that, for example, if the product owner just comes here and reads some tasks, clicks on them, sees who's working on them, sees what's the progress, what there are problems, they can see what the whole team is working on, and always comment on any of the cards to get, either to get like, oh, good job, or, oh, I can help you with this way, asking any questions, things like that. The other one that I usually add to my Trello board is the questions for next daily Scrum. I don't want to spend time on, end of my meeting, and who has questions? Everyone has questions all the time, which is totally fine, and people should have questions. However, I don't want to just start spending time on figuring out those questions. I like when people post the questions under this list. So for example, let's say there's a question, when is our next team night? So when I have it before my meeting, I can figure that answer out and I can just address all the questions that are already in this list as quickly as possible. If the questions need more time, then usually I would elaborate on the little card and explain my answers, or I would just call the person and talk with them separately, or to the team, whoever needs the answer. So we don't waste the whole team's time on things they don't need to be a part of. We can also add, different documents, links and information, anything we really want. And there's often, each company is a little different. We can always adjust the labels, for example, the lists, the deadlines, things like that, depending how everyone works. But in the big picture, this is how I like to work. I also have weekly meetings with all the department heads, just to make sure, they don't need anything, or if I can help them anyhow to make things better. And really just to check in, and them knowing that I'm checking in every week at the same time. So they do need to have some results. Because otherwise, if we're going to have the same meeting for 3 weeks in a row and there's no results, I want to know what's causing this and how can we make this better. So yeah, that's basically how I work and how I manage my teams. And if you have any questions, I'm available to talk about it, and just shoot me an email, and I hope that's something you guys are looking for, and I'm ready to talk further. Thank you very much, and hope you learned something.